So the one basic quality needed for this endless exploration, this vast journey, endless journey, is humility. Which is not a matter of cultivation or practice, but recognizing at any given moment that whatever you know, whatever you have learned, howsoever brilliant you may be, howsoever clever you may be, howsoever impressive you may be to everyone else around in the world. You might be an author of many books, you might have lots of name and fame. All the world over people may know you as a great teacher. But since all that you know is nothing. All that you know, all that you have acquired, all that you are is still limited. In comparison, it may be a big thing. But in comparison, what is big is also small. A comparative bigness is of no use. Comparative greatness is meaningless. If I must be, I should be absolutely great, or nothing at all, or absolutely nothing. But if I am little of this or little of that, it's useless. So when you see this fundamental law of life, and whatever you acquire, whatever you discover, whatever you master, you find all this is limited. And you can form conclusions anytime. You can invent a philosophy anytime. You can have thousands of followers anytime. Many devotees and listeners and large audiences, you can have all those things. Not easy for everyone, but if you work hard and you are interested, some people can have it. But when you understand that all that you may do, all that you may acquire is nothing, when you look at the vastness of this journey, the joy of this creative living, of exploration which goes on endlessly, never comes to an end. It may come to an end, but that end is something different. That's not an end in the sense we talk of an end. That end may not be the end in terms of achieving some goal or acquiring something for you. To me, I see that end as the total merging of yourself into this vastness. Where there is no separation, there is no division. You are one with this universe. There is only one. Because the whole of the play of this energy, this movement is expressed as oneness. Or I may say as non-division. Because when you say oneness, then in one there is also implied two. Mind can construct all these gimmicks, all these sentences and all these paradoxes. So, whether you call it oneness or you call it non-duality, non-divisibility, a true individuality. A true individuality is also the same thing. An individual is one who cannot be divided further. Which can be divided is not individual, is divisible. So individual is different from the individual. We are individuals, not individuals. If you are really individuals, you are one with the universe. So to be an individual is a big thing. But unfortunately, most of us are not individuals. We are divided. So, then You have come to this silence, this absolute silence, and you have embarked upon this journey. On this journey you will meet many experiences, many forces. You will make many discoveries. And also, till you understand the complete nature of this observer, because this is a very eluding thing, it's a very tricky thing. One moment you can make a wonderful discovery, and you find fine, nice, how beautiful, and next moment the observer is creeping back through the back door again. So, oh nice, I have discovered it. And the eyes again come back. So with these tricky movements, many times when you go through in and out of it, and you discover this game of the observer, of the thought coming in from the back door, and trying to usurp all that you have discovered. And then drop it. Most of us won't drop it immediately. Though it can happen instantaneously, it can happen in a moment that you can drop it, but most of us will not drop it. Because the conditioning has gone so deep, the pleasure of being something has gone so deep. I always want to be something. After knowing it for 10 years that it's nothing, it's useless to be something, I still deep down somewhere trying to be something. And so long as this habit is not even desire, it's a habit. I have seen it thoroughly that to be something is pain. Trying to become something is pain. It's no pleasure. I know it. I have heard it. I have seen it in my life. And I have seen it not once, twice, but 100 times in my life. And yet, when I look inside, on any small little thing that comes to me, I start building castles over it. I start building big empires out of it. And I find that I am trying to become something. I am trying to be something. So I won't call it a greed, just a habit. And most habits have no pleasure. When something is pleasurable, it's not habit. You seek it, you enjoy it, you run after it. But when that pleasure, by repeated experience, by repeated cultivation, becomes so routine that it becomes a habit, it has lost pleasure. Habit has no pleasure. So with most of us it has become a habit to become something, to be something, wanting to be something. And therefore, it may take some time to get rid of this habit. Not psychological time, but chronological time. Don't say, I'll be free of it tomorrow, or I'll be free of it after 6 months or 6 years. Don't say that. You don't know. You may be free now, you may be free tomorrow, you may be free anytime, but just to see, that's a habit. And it's serving no useful purpose, because habits don't serve any useful purpose, excepting to keep the mind dull. That's the only purpose of habit, to keep the mind dull. So when you see that this habit is there, then in the beginning you will have some, not moments of great release, not moments of great joy or creativity. You will have brief moments of joy and creativity, and perhaps larger periods of pain and frustration. And why you will have it that way? Because each perception, Each moment of release brings about a momentum to build up something on that, to live according to that. And you can't live according to that. You don't live according to that. And you want to be like that and you can't be like that. You want it to be always there and you cannot have it all the time there. So it comes and goes, it comes and goes. And therefore, a period of intensified conflict begins. The mind in a conditioned state, if it is completely conditioned, though I don't know if such a state exists, who is completely conditioned. But if some mind is a totally conditioned state, it is imaginable. A mind which is totally conditioned has no conflict, no pain. It becomes stone. It doesn't bother, it doesn't think, it doesn't question. But if the mind is not completely conditioned, totally conditioned, it is partly conditioned and partly unconditioned, it's a miserable mind. And now, after this first perception of the whole movement of the observer and the observer coming to an end, the mind is still in transition. There are moments of perception and there are moments of darkness. And therefore conflict increases, pain increases. But I don't think one has to be frightened of this pain.